happy to say that Mr. Jeff Piersall, who is the CEO of Space Coast Business Media, is here with us today. It's an honor for him to have said that he would agree to speak. He's an awesome speaker, and I know you're all going to enjoy it. So without further ado, when he gets done talking, he's going to talk to us about why dogs don't bark at parked cars.
I'm really back at home since I was a high school and college basketball coach for 10 years. Actually being able to talk to you in a gym is a lot of fun, and it's good to be here with you. I'm not real sure how I ended up. I was looking at the roster of speakers, and it was all females. And here I am kicking off this event as the keynote. So it's we will try to make sure that we get started in the right place. And I think one of the best places to get started was a little story that I remember, and it kind of really sets the tone for relationships, particularly in a spousal environment. And it was a couple, they were about 25, 26 years married, and they were heading back to the wife's high school reunion. And it was back in a little town in Alabama, and as they were going down the highway, they got to outside the area, and they said that, the husband decided he'd go ahead and gas up instead of having to do it afterwards. And so he pulled into the gas station, started gassing up, and he needed to go to the restroom, so he went back inside. And as he came back out, the gas station attendant was hugging his wife. And they were very, affectionate and saying goodbye. And, he went back into the gas station. And so he got in the car and they took off. And they're going down the road for a few minutes. It's kind of quiet. You kind of know how that is. And next thing you know, he kind of looks over at her and says, "Mary, who was that guy you were hugging at the gas station?" And she said, "Well, that was Bubba. You would probably remember Bubba. That's who I was dating in high school. And he owns the gas station." And so he was just saying hello because he wasn't going to be able to be at the reunion and whatnot. It was just really great seeing him. A couple more minutes go by, and riding down the road, and he looks back over and says, "Mary, I guess you really feel fortunate. I mean, what a heck of a decision. It's funny how life works that way." He said, "You could have chosen Bubba, and today you're married to a president of a very distinguished company. We ride in a Mercedes. We can fly anywhere we want to go. It's funny how life throws you these little twists." And she just very calmly looked at her husband, John, and said, "John, what you don't understand is Bubba be driving this Mercedes if I married him." And having been married for 27 years, with 2 daughters, I got a son also, but he's at the caboose of the operation. You do run the house, and you do run us, and it takes a good woman to make a decent man. And you kind of wonder, as a woman in business, well, it sure would be good to have a good man, but you already know that that's hard to find, so you're good enough to be successful on your own. And we're going to kind of lay out some objectives and some things this morning that you can take for the rest of the day. And I want you to carry these with you, and hopefully you'll take some notes as we go through, because I think it's really critical that you understand that there could never be a better time to be in business than right now, when most people want to tell you it's the worst time to be in business. Most people want to try to tell you that it's the worst time to start a business, and you can't listen to those people. I would much rather be in control of my own business and my own destiny than to be working for somebody right now. And I would definitely want to make sure that I have the energy and the knowledge to take full advantage of the opportunity that sits today. The Chinese word for crisis is defined with 2 words. One is danger, and the other is opportunity. And it's a very interesting paradox in those 2 words, danger and opportunity. Most people today, when they see crisis, they view it from danger, and they never think about the opportunity that crisis presents. All that it's trying to tell you is that opportunities available to you, be realistic about the danger and monitor it. But you've got to be able to change your perspective if you're going to be successful in business. And you're going to learn that the things that you should have been doing are the things that you end up doing during a time of crisis. And if you'd have just been doing them, it wouldn't be that critical for you right now. I want you to understand that in all of life, there's 4 stages to everything that happens in life. Rich DeVos taught me this back in the mid-90s, the owner of the Amway business and the owner of the Magic, probably one of the single best businessmen in our country. He's actually counseled 9 different presidents, and he's told them all the exact same thing. And when he taught me these 4, I said, you know, no matter where I go, I'm going to always relay these 4, because I don't care what you have to say, you're in one of these 4 stages. At some point in your life, first one is build and create. The first stage is build and create. You were meant to build and you were meant to create. That's what you were put here for. And as long as you stay in the build and the create mode, good things continue to happen. But what ends up happening to us is that we get things started, and most of us are pretty good starters. And we get things going, and we're building, we're creating, we're going. And then all of a sudden, we slip into stage number 2, which is the management stage. And we all love to be king at least once. And the management stage is very interesting because it's where you get the desk, you know, you're overviewing the Indian River, you know, you got people now. You got people, and those people are going to build and create for you. So now you're in a management stage. And folks, I want you to realize that you can look at your churches, you can look at your schools, you can look at your community, you can look at your county government, you can look at your state, you can look at your nation, in all 4 of these. You can look at your relationships with your children and with your spouses, with your friends. They will all go through these 4 stages. Stage number 3, if you stay in management long enough, you will slip into what we call the defender of no growth stage. In the defender of no growth, you come up with all the legitimate reasons why you can no longer build and create. And they're all legitimate good reasons. Every one of them is valid, but none of them matter. Because the longer you stay in the defender of no growth, you will slip into stage 4, and see if you recognize stage 4, because it's all around you today. Stage 4 is the blame stage. And once you move into the blame stage, it's somebody else's fault why you can't be successful. It's somebody else's fault for the situation that you're in today. It's somebody else. If they'd have just done something for you differently, you would have been different. You could have had things better. Folks, the blame stage, there's only one thing that happens after that. Relationships end up in divorce. Communities break down. Organizations stop. Political, just take a look at it. I don't have to say a whole lot more. And it all falls apart. You want to go see a business that's ended? Just go find out. They got somebody else's fault. It always is. Instead of just looking in the mirror and realizing where the real issues are. All right? Now, with that said, I want to give you a couple different things that are really, I believe, are kind of myths, and they need to be broken down. The first one is, and I just heard a guy speak this morning, some of you may have been over to the Melbourne Chamber, and he meant no harm by this. But he said the greatest asset you have is your reputation. Would you agree that your reputation is important? Can anybody give me the definition of reputation? Go ahead. How other people perceive you. This is what I love about speaking with all women. They get it right the first time. Man, I'm in all the basketball coaches, and you know, it takes about 5 or 6 times before they... He's exactly right. How other people perceive you. What's your name? Roz. Yeah, I don't. I'm sorry, Roz. You got your hair changed. You're looking good, girl. All right. Hey, let me ask you this. Can you control how other people perceive you? How do you do that? How are you going to control what they perceive in you? Wendy, can you control how people perceive you and what they think of you? You can try. The question was, can you control it? Can you control it? then why are you so worried about your reputation? You're worried about something that you can't control in the first part. Here's what you need to be concerned about. You need to be concerned about your character. Your character you can control. The character is what you see in the mirror, because you know what? The mirror is not going to lie to you. You can try to paint whatever picture you want to paint. You can try to come up with whatever it is you want to come up with. But ultimately, what you see in the morning and what you see in the evening, that's the real deal. And if you get that right, it doesn't matter what anybody thinks about you. You don't have the time for impression management. Just write impression management down and don't enroll in that class. That is a bad class. That is a class that will send you down a path and you will never be successful in business because you can't control it. Gosh, dog, you got to realize something. If you're going to do something good, you're going to make some people mad along the way because they just don't get it. But there's just some that just don't get it, right? You don't have time for the ones that don't get it. There's enough that get it, that want the help. Go in that direction and stay in that direction, okay? Another one I want to give you is failure is not fatal. It's never fatal. The failure to change is death. Now you're going to have to realize something. If you took this table is dead. It's never going to change unless you physically come and do something to it and tear it apart. Just in the little bit of time that we've been here already, you've changed. You've got cells that have died. You've got cells that have been created. You're changing all the time. All these people that buy into this message of, oh, we just can't change. You know, if things just wouldn't change, change is just going to be that way. It's just going to happen. My gosh, you know, I mean, do you want your 1-year-old to not change? Do you want your 5-year-old to not change? They're going to change no matter what you think, isn't it? Oh, I love them when they were 6. They were so much more fun. Now they're 16 and you're scratching your head. I understand, but they're going to change. Everything is going to change. So if you don't like the circumstances you're in today, don't worry. It's going to change. And you've got the ability to move it to where you want to go. And that's something that you've got to grasp. Movement and momentum. It's going to either be controlled by one of two things. Just think of a sailboat out in the Indian Harbor. If it's being pushed by the wind with no rudder, it's going to go wherever the wind wants it to go. Or if you know how to steer it with the sails, you'll go to the place that you want to go. The key is do you know where you want to go? You see, most of the time we don't know where we want to go. And so what ends up happening? The wind's pushing us all over the place. And what we do is we get caught up with distractions. And they just bother us. See, you can't get caught up with distractions if you're focused on your target. You just stay on your target and all this other nonsense just goes on. And it goes on and it goes on. Here's one I want you to get. Don't expect people to listen to you. They're going to watch your example. Most of us want to tell everybody what they need to do and how they need to do it. And we're real good about telling people. We're not real good about doing the same things that we're telling everybody else to go do. All right? You got to do it with your actions. They speak 10 times louder than your words. Get this next one down and then we'll move on. Success, now this one's hurt your brain. Success you attract by becoming what you want others to be. Success is attracted by you becoming what you want everybody else to be. Now you may have, well, now that's just not right. Yeah, it is. Because when you look around you, you see what everybody else ought to be. Start being what you want everybody else to be, and guess what? You'll find all the success you want. Quit worrying about everybody else and what they ought to be. Start taking care of you and your character. Here's 5 things that you can use. These principles, I have found them to be true in any business. I've done just about a little bit of everything. I don't have enough time to go through it here this morning with us, but just understand that these work everywhere. Doesn't matter if it's with your family or where it is, okay? The first thing, and everybody hates this word, but there's no other way to put it down, but write it down. You got to have some goals. You got to have some goals. Anybody got a third grade student? Cindy does. All right, Jill does. Wait, well, let me ask you this, Jill. How long is that third grader allowed to be in the third grade? Not for basically 1 year, right? You won't accept 2 years? You're not going to accept 2 years. So 3 years would be completely off the chart. We don't even know it, but our school system sets one of the best goal systems in the world for us. A goal is something that is obtained in a reasonable amount of time with an end target. And there it is. How long can you be in the third grade? Man, I love that 2.5 Men show. It's kind of funny. You know, and the little boy, they said, well, how'd you get to the 8th grade? They got tired of me in the 7th. Doesn't matter. You got to the 8th grade. That was the goal, right? You know, some get good grades. Some, you know, the teachers just get tired of the kid and they move them along. But you've got to have goals. And they got to get measured, and you got to know how to keep moving along. Anybody take a big vacation lately? Where'd you go? Dallas. How long were you there? 5 days. How long ago did you do it? You find out somebody's going overseas, and man, they'll put, 8, 9 months into making sure they got everything worked out. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And lo and behold, they don't put that kind of time into their own lives. That's where you got to put the time. Number 2 is you got to have a burning desire. Has anybody got young children? Cindy, I know you got young children, so don't raise your hand. How old are your children? You got a 5-year-old son? Come here. Come on. What's your name? Come on, Susan. How old's your son? All right, and what's his name?
Andrew.
Andrew. All right, now you got to stay with me on this, okay? You got to work with me. You don't have to run away. I don't bite.
Okay.
Now, Andrew is in Los Angeles right now.
Okay.
Are you with me?
Okay.
All right. I've got your cell phone. I've got your wallet. I've got everything that's in your bank accounts. I've got your keys. All you've got is what you have right here with you right now. And if you're not in Los Angeles by 8 o'clock tonight, you have no access to your money. You have no access to your car. You don't have any access to your cell phone. You will never, in the rest of your life, ever see Andrew again. Will you be in Los Angeles by 8 o'clock?
Absolutely.
Do you know how?
I'm working on it.
You're already working on it. Here's the thing I want you to realize about what just got demonstrated, and it never fails. Now, you do notice we did not ask for anybody who had high school students. They would remain in Los Angeles. However, this is what a burning desire is. A burning desire is not about trying to figure out how. Thank you, Susan. A burning desire is about knowing why you're doing something. So many of us, particularly in this community, because we are dominated by engineers. And that's not a bad thing, but engineers, and I got 2 of them as younger brothers, they got to figure everything out before they move. The problem is the deal's already gone. It's already gone. There's no more time. All right, that's great if I'm building a house or if I'm going to do this or what, But you know what? It's useless if you're going to build a business. You can't figure it all out. Let me warn you. You do not have, all the answers. You can't get all the answers. You got to know why you're going where you're going and then go with a burning desire. And don't look up. Once you put your head down, you're gone. You're going to go run with it. Number 3 is balance. This is a tough one. You got to balance everything that you go and do. Here's how you can figure it out if you're doing what you should be doing. Your work's got to be your joy, and your joy's got to be your work. And you say, well, there's no balance in that. Where's family come? You'll figure that out. Let me tell you, you're supposed to work. It's okay to work. You know, quit buying into all this that you can't and cannot work or what, you know, it's okay to work. There's nothing wrong with that. Your work's got to be your joy. Now, this also doesn't mean kumbaya, every day is going to be happy. It's not going to be that way. You know, that's just not the way it happens. You've got to enjoy the challenges. You've got to enjoy the situations that come to you. If your joy's not your work and your work's not your joy, you can't have balance. You're going to be out of balance. That doesn't mean stop doing what you're doing, but it does mean go find what it is that your work and your joy match up. Make sure you go do that because it's absolutely critical to your success. Number 4 is time. The problem we've got today is that we're a microwave society that I gotta have it now. You get told by TV and you get demonstrated all these great success stories, and nobody wants to show you all the amount of time, all the amount of risk that they were willing to take that you were unwilling to take. And you're going to have to understand, the greater the risk, the greater the reward. The closer those two come to the middle, the more you're normal. I'm not saying normal's bad. I'm just saying the further you get away from normal, the greater the reward, the greater the effort, the greater the amount of time that it's going to take to be able to make things happen. I'm going to give you an offshoot of time, and I want you to understand this. This is critical to where you are for the future of your business, and really for the future of anything that you want to go do with your family or for yourself. You've got to turn the TV off. I'm very serious about that. You're going to have to start understanding that TV is entertainment. With the death of Walter Cronkite, we've lost what was pure in terms of reporting. I grew up with him, and you know what? I got to tell you, there wasn't anybody that got it better. And there's nothing today that is anything but entertainment. And the longer they can keep you on, the more their ratings go up. You're not getting the truth. There's plenty of truth that's available to you out there, but this is what you're getting. Your brain is just like a garden. Your brain is no different. You can plant a seed of grain, nice wheat, and you can plant a seed of poison. Both will grow. The ground does not care. It doesn't care. It's going to grow both of them. If you're listening to the TV and you're listening to all the nonsense, you're listening to all the negative, guess what? You're going to produce the same exact thing. You're not strong enough to overcome it. Quit thinking you are. You're not strong enough to overcome that barrage of negativity. You've got to shut that off, or your time of success will be cut off. It'll be cut in half. There's one key thing about every CEO. Every successful CEO, there's only one thing that's the same. They read positive support books. Everything that you need to know in life about success has already been written. Are you reading? That's where you got to go. Invest that kind of time and stay in that kind of a vein of positive, and you're going to be successful. You don't have any other choice. It'll come to you. And the last one, and I think most people really struggle with this, and that's belief. You've got to believe in you. You've got to believe in the products you're representing, the service. You've got to believe in your community. You've got to believe in your family. You've just got to believe, folks. Because if you don't, who is? Who is? And you know what we most of the time do? Is we focus on our friends, we focus on our families. And I'll tell you, women, you're the most guilty of this. You will put your lives into everybody else, and I understand you'll sacrifice who you are to do that, and you don't have to do it. That's not what you were intended to be. You were intended, just like anybody else on this earth, to be everything that you can possibly be. And you can't do it by not believing in yourself. And you don't have to have people around you. Oh, I can't do it because my husband doesn't believe in what I'm doing. Great, you go do what you're doing. I'm going to go do what I'm doing. Right? Look, my wife doesn't believe in everything I ever did. You know, that's perfectly fine. It doesn't have to. All I need from her is just love me. That's okay. And I know there's some days more than others that you don't. That's all right too. You know, coaches are tough. Here's what you can go home with. The definition of faith and fear is exactly the same thing. It's the things unseen in your future. And that's not a religious statement, because religion gets everything messed up for the most part. It's a definition of the difference between faith and fear in your life. You see, fear will restrict you and keep you from doing anything. Faith is not blind faith. Faith is a positive outlook for your future that causes you, now get this, causes you to act in the face of fear. It will cause you to act. There's a lot of people that are just bedridden with fear right now. Get over it. You've got to go act. You've got to have the courage to bootstrap up and go. Because guess what? I've already told you, nobody else is going to do it for you. You know, the pity parties, they're everywhere. You know, your kids want them all the time, don't they? You know, they want them every day when they come home. There's always something wrong. You got to re-gear them back and straighten them up. But folks, you will act in the face of fear if you have faith. There was an event that happened in January as we close up. And I think it probably tells more about where we are today in our society, and it tells us more about these 5 principles than anything else. And a U.S. air flight went down in the Hudson River. And the pilot had to have the faith in his skills, had to have the faith in his own self to be able to act in the face of that fear. Don't think he wasn't scared, he was. He made a statement on 60 Minutes that was really beautiful. He said, "Why do you think so many people are enamored with this particular event?" He said, "Because I believe the American public is ready for some good news." Boy, that was sick. That tells you everything about our media right now. They're ready for some good news. Okay? Here was the great story that came out of that nobody wants to tell. Nobody wants to tell this story. But it's the truth. That's kind of what the truth is all about, isn't it? Most people just don't want to hear it. By the way, a good friend will tell you the truth. A good friend's not there always to just tell you what you want to hear. All right? The truth is that when Captain Scully came on and said, "Will everybody please brace? We're going in for a tough landing in the Hudson." Every single person prepared themselves by putting their head between their knees and locking up. And to the person, 154 of them, they all began to pray. Every single one of them. And I started this whole talk with the definition of crisis. Why is it that we, in the face of crisis, will do what we should have been doing all along, all the time? Why is it that it takes a crisis to wake you up to do the things that you're supposed to do? It doesn't have to be that way. Take this at work. They've been proven for thousands and thousands of years. Folks, the problem isn't the fact of faith or fear. The problem is everybody's personal agendas that they put on it. Your future is bright, but you've got to pursue it with the passion to know that your son will never be seen again if you just don't go get it. There's things that you've got to do. There's things that you've got to overcome on a day-to-day basis. Have a joy about doing them. Love the spirit of doing it, and congratulate yourself because you made the first great step. You showed up, and you'll beat 90% of the people by just showing up. Thank you very much, and have a great day today, okay?